On today's show, why Cade Cunningham may be a dark horse MVP candidate, what LeBron's injury means for the start of the Lakers season, plus the most surprising picks on the annual GM survey. It's all coming up right here at Locked On NBA Game Night.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
What is up, and welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every single night. I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. And joining me is my partner in crime, the host of Locked On Heat, David Ramil. David, how represented were the Heat in the Locked On NBA GM survey?
Not well. I don't think they got mentioned at all. Even Bam Adebayo getting ignored as one of the most versatile defenders in the NBA, which frankly, I'm flummoxed by that. But you know what? I know a Houston Rockets player who got some shine in that department, a guy who might be a pretty solid perimeter defender, if I'm not mistaken.
Hey, well, we'll get to the Heat getting snubbed in the GM survey a little bit later on. First, I want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. Head on over to FanDuel.com to get started. And on today's show, we're going to be tackling the preseason games from our Thursday night slate. Cade Cunningham looking like, at least through a couple preseason games, like he's about to take another leap forward in his career, potentially an all-NBA caliber leap, a MVP level leap. We'll get to that. We'll hear about the who doesn't love a good overtime preseason game between the Knicks and Wolves, what the Knicks have cooking over there, some of the changes to their offensive system, Bulls, Cavs, Thunder, and Hornets, and more, as well as the impact of LeBron James's injury and what that means for the start of the Lakers season. But where we're going to start, David, is with the matchup between the Detroit Pistons, Milwaukee Bucks, and Kuka Hill. Very amped about Cade Cunningham's play so far through a couple preseason games.
If this is how Cade Cunningham is going to play this year, if we're going to see more pull-up threes, if we're going to see more step-back threes, if we're going to see improved finishing at the rim, if we're going to see JP Bickerstaff unlock Cade in a different way to where he's still getting shot attempts, he's still being the focal point of the offense, but maybe not as much just at the top of the key looking at a pick and roll, coming off handoffs, coming off pin downs, getting in some more off-ball looks, some movement threes. If he's going to be utilized like this and be as good as he's been, 26 points in one half, 20 points in one half last game, 26, 6, and 6 tonight in just 19 minutes, if this is how he's going to be playing, we got first-team All-NBA coming, and we got MVP votes coming this year for Cade. Cade's been utterly fantastic in preseason so far, and Cade every year of his career has started slow during the regular season. Seems like with the offseason focus on his conditioning, seems like that might not be the case this year. That would be big for the Detroit Pistons.
26 points for Cade against the Bucks on 8 of 14 shooting. He was 2 of 5 from downtown, a perfect 8 of 8 at the charity stripe. David, Cade's a guy that we know what he's capable of. He's one of the best kind of engines in the NBA, running that Pistons offense. A lot of the actions running through him on a nightly basis. Sometimes the efficiency hasn't quite been there in the past for him. But as Ku kind of alluded to, right, if he is a more efficient version of himself this season, better finishing around the rim, better 3-point shooting, maybe bumping up the scoring numbers just a little bit. Are you buying Cade Cunningham MVP stock potentially?
No. Not yet. I think it's too early. I don't think he's going to make that kind of leap. Not in a league that has Nikola Jokic and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Like, those players are established MVP level players. For Cade to surpass them would be such an incredible leap that I don't think he's capable of making it. And it won't be a knock on him. It's just we're talking about potentially, I think, the 3 best players, the most versatile and most dominant players in the league, and he's not going to be able to surpass those numbers. They're just too productive and too good and too well established to fight all those narratives. We're not even mentioning a guy like Luka Doncic, who I think has a pretty solid showing, a chance in Los Angeles to be able to convince some of those voters that he is MVP worthy as well, because he's been in the conversation in the past. For Shai to get into that conversation, I don't think he's capable of it yet. He has to take another leap in between. So I think Ku is right. I think all NBA certainly is going to be potential for him. I think he's going to emerge as a top 15 player in the league. but there's quite a big difference between top 15 and top 5, where you're in that conversation so consistently that people start to see that you are an MVP level caliber player. And so even just on a macro level, not even just the potential he has as an individual player, like what do the Pistons have to do in order for him to be in that conversation? Because we've seen in the past, it requires the team to be one of the top teams in the league. And I don't know that Detroit's quite there yet. I'm a believer. I think the Pistons are a well-coached team. I think they're a solid team. They made some nice additions this offseason, and Cade is a fantastic player. I was convinced he was an all-star even prior to the start of last year. I knew he was going to be there last season. And yet I think that they'd have to be like a 55-win team that's competing for a top 2 seed in the Eastern Conference before they can even get into that kind of conversation for him to be considered as an MVP caliber player.
It very much feels like the only way for Cade to be truly in that conversation, and this isn't, we're not talking about like him having a legit shot to win the MVP award yet. We're not even there yet. We're just talking about like siphoning some MVP votes, right? Being loosely in the conversation. I could maybe see a version of this Pistons team that, like you said, if they have the team success similar to last season, the way that the Cleveland Cavaliers were so dominant in the regular season, Donovan Mitchell was in the MVP discussion, not like realistically, like he wasn't going to be the MVP, but he was like floating there on the MVP ladder, like the 4th, 5th, 6th spot kind of throughout the season. And that's kind of the area where I could see Cade ultimately landing, given the immense amount of responsibility that he has for this Pistons team, that he has a chance to, he could, very easily go out there and average. I don't think anybody would be shocked if Cade averaged like 28, 8, and 8 or something ridiculous this season, because he certainly has it in his wheelhouse. And if the efficiency is there, then we are certainly talking about one of the 15 best players in the NBA. To Koo's point, he did say first team All NBA. What would Cade have to do to cement himself as one of the 2 best guards in the NBA?
Well, I mean, it's easier maybe with Tyrese Halliburton, and we've seen what his production has been. Luka, again, I think he has the edge there. I think Shea's going to be certainly considered. So right there, you've got the 2 top vote getters in the guard position. So I don't think he can crack that conversation yet. I think it's going to take either an injury from one of those top 2 players, or it's just another year of development where he kind of establishes himself. It has to be done in increments. You can't just go from one day to the next to be a top 5 player. Shea had to go through it. I think even Jokic had to go through it. And I think Cade can go through that. That's not to say that he won't eventually reach that point, but I just don't think it's something that he's capable of doing it this season. If it were, I mean, again, it would have to take an injury from one of those 2 players, I think, or it would have to be what you said, averaging those kind of monster numbers where you wouldn't have any choice but to say, you know what, I have to give it to him. The guy's a walking triple-double almost any night, and as such, he'd have to be considered among the top guards in the league.
Are we off base here? We want your thoughts. Could Cade Cunningham possibly be a dark horse MVP candidate this season for the Detroit Pistons? Give us your thoughts in the YouTube comments. Coming up, we get to our other games from our Thursday night NBA preseason slate, as well as the impact of LeBron James's injury on the start of the Lakers season. We're going to get there in just one moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Every day we make decisions, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this NFL and NBA season with Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Playing Prize Picks is such a fun, simple way to add more excitement to football and basketball. You just pick more or less on player projections. You can take a look at Josh Allen's passing yards, or take a look at Luka Doncic's points per game, just whatever you want to get into. You are in the game with Prize Picks. It's quick. It's so easy. You can build your lineup in just a couple minutes tops. The best part, they've added stacks. So if you want to ride with a player, you can select their passing yards, their total points, their assists, whatever, all in one specific lineup. So check it out now. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. And continuing on here at Locked On NBA Game Night. Thanks so much for making Game Night your first listen each and every day. For your second listen, go check out the Locked On Show for your favorite team. Let's go ahead and throw it out to Locked On Knicks to break down an overtime game. Who doesn't love a good overtime preseason game, David? Let's go out to Locked On Knicks for more between the Knicks and the Wolves.
New York Knicks wrap up a 100-95 overtime victory over the Minnesota Timberwolves to move to 3-0 this preseason. What's up, guys? My name is Gavin Shaw of the Locked On Knicks podcast. This is the first time the Knicks were really challenged this preseason. Previously, they were kind of playing a shell squad version of the Philadelphia 76ers. Minnesota played their starters through the third quarter, as did the New York Knicks. Showed off a lot of physicality and intense defense that challenged the Knicks' off-ball movement, new dribble handoff-oriented offense, and pace that have all been defining qualities of Mike Brown's short tenure as Knicks coach. The Knicks were still able to find some good shots with some quick bits of improvisation. The passing felt a lot zippier than it did in years past, which is certainly exciting. Another exciting element for the New York Knicks, Mikal Bridges, man, continues to just shoot the heck out of the basketball, hit a movement corner three, a shot he was not even attempting for the most part the second half of last season. He seems like he's in a really great rhythm to start this season, and that is perhaps the single best piece of news the Knicks could get to open the 25-26 year.
All right, David, hearing it from Gavin Shaw himself there, Mikal Bridges was on fire in this game. 15 points, 6 of 12 shooting, 3 of 7 from downtown. Looked good on the floor, actually. And even though, I know Gavin highlighted, right, shots that he wasn't necessarily taking last season. I wonder how much of that has to do with this idea that, the Knicks, and they were talking about this on the Knicks broadcast a little bit, that Mikal Bridges, he's the NBA's Iron Man. He plays a ton of minutes, never misses a game. And he also shoulders a pretty immense responsibility defensively, pretty much every single night checking the opposing team's best player. But what it seems to be the approach with Mike Brown, at least to start, in his brief tenure, is Bridges isn't going to exclusively be responsible for checking the opposing team's best player every single possession, that they're going to give him some reps away from guarding guys like the Anthony Edwardses of the world and things of that nature in order to maybe preserve him a little bit, to keep him maybe fresher on the offensive end. How do you feel about that approach by New York?
It makes sense. I mean, we've talked about the Knicks before, and I feel like this is quickly becoming my wheelhouse here in terms of kind of dashing Knicks fans' hopes a little bit, because it just feels like every time that we talk about the Knicks, and maybe it's just been by nature of the schedule or something like that, it just we're already like predisposed to talk about them as a title contender, when I still don't see it. I mean, we're talking about Mike Brown here, and like all of a sudden Mike Brown is incredible offensive guru that's going to help this team take this leap, blah, blah, blah. And on the same night, you've got Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson going like 6 for 100. I mean, I don't even know what you're talking about here. Like, great that you're running these great sets to get these players these open looks. But you know what? The offense is still going to be a problem. And I think defensively, there are going to be issues with those two out of the floor. So I'm pumping the brakes on the Knicks bandwagon just yet. As far as Bridges is concerned, it's a good approach. It's smart. I think it makes sense to kind of take some of the load defensively off his shoulders so that he could do more offensively, because you need that kind of production from his position, because he's capable, because he can be a solid shooter, and he can provide that complementary spark that Towns and Brunson need. So it makes a lot of sense. And you've also got another fantastic defender in OG Anunoby too. So he can absolutely do a lot in that starting lineup in terms of, if he's able to play as many games as he did last year and stay healthy, then he'll be able to shoulder some of that defensive burden as well. So it's going to fall on those two mostly to carry this team's defense as a starting unit. And it makes sense to kind of have them trade off and be able to take certain possessions, and you can rely on Josh Hart as well coming off the bench.
It's certainly, and Mitchell Robinson being inserted back into that starting lineup and playing kind of the Twin Towers starters role alongside Karl Anthony Towns. Ultimately, it's going to take one of Towns or Jalen Brunson stepping up defensively, and I just don't think it's going to be Brunson. We know that Cat's capable of being a stronger defender than he is more often than not, or at least from what we've seen, last season from him. And so if Cat can take a step in the right direction defensively, then I will put a little bit more stock in the Knicks as legitimate contenders. But if he's going to continue to be a liability defensively, then I think it's going to be a very long season for New York basketball. Let's go out to our next game here. The Bulls and Cavaliers. Let's throw out to Locked On Cavs for this one.
Cleveland Cavaliers lost to the Chicago Bulls 119-112 in their second preseason game. That result does not matter. What does matter, some of the things that happened during the game. Evan Mobley, I thought, looked very good in this game offensively. He finished with 21 points on 6 of 10 shooting. He looks like a guy that is ready for the regular season to be here and is ready to take another step forward on the offensive end of the floor. And I do think there's going to be ample opportunity for him to do so at the start of the season. I thought Donovan Mitchell looked pretty good as well. He led the Cavs in scoring on Thursday night. He had 22 points on 8 of 16 shooting, 3 of 5 from 3, also had 6 boards, 4 assists. Just star players that look like they're ready for the regular season. It's kind of the best thing that you can say as the preseason continues on. And then DeAndre Hunter had his second great preseason game. He had 20 points after 17 points on Tuesday night. He's a guy that has had a great start to the preseason for the Cavs. I cannot buy enough stock in DeAndre Hunter before the season in Cleveland.
David, how close are we to Evan Mobley becoming, say, a top 3 two-way player in the NBA if we're not there already? Like there's Giannis, Kawhi when he's healthy.
That's pretty much it, right?
I mean,
J-Dub, is he in that conversation?
Yeah, like, and then you also go SGA. Like I know SGA is a plus defender, but I don't put him in maybe the same defensive tier as some of the other guys. Is Evan Mobley already one of the 3 best two-way forces in the NBA? His offensive growth as an NBA player has impressed the hell out of me. Like I really thought that it was going to take him longer to get up to speed on the offensive end than he ultimately has. Extending his range, becoming a competent 3-point shooter, adding more and more to his offensive bag each season, as well as, being a defensive player of the year caliber defender on that side of the floor. Like, I think we got to have that conversation. Anthony Davis. There we go. I knew I was missing one.
Yeah.
AD when healthy is up there.
Yeah. When healthy being a significant caveat.
Gigantic caveat, right? Big ol' asterisk.
Yeah.
Just like his 2020 title.
Oh
no! I'm kidding. All right,
no.
Just lobbing some strays, just having fun.
Top 5 certainly, and maybe top 3 already. I think he has had an incredible amount of growth in a short amount of time, and he has emerged as a top player. Like I think that. See, conversely, I'm much more of a believer in the Cavs as legitimate contenders, despite the fact that they do have questions as well. But we saw what they were capable of in the regular season, and I think they're going to continue to build off that. They've made some changes, they've added some depth pieces. They're a team that seems like they're capable of making that leap in a way that, again, I'm just not a believer in when it comes to New York. But I think DeAndre Hunter is going to be a phenomenal piece for them. I think Mobley certainly poised for another growth spurt. And that being the case, that Cavs team looks much more dangerous to me. They just look like the top of the top, the cream of the crop in the Eastern Conference for sure.
Let's get to our next couple games here very quickly. The OKC Thunder taking care of business against the Charlotte Hornets, 122-116. No Chet Holmgren, no J-Dub for the OKC Thunder. No problem. Just went out there, and this was a Charlotte team that did roll out their at least what I suspect is supposed to be their full lineup for this upcoming season. And then one more game here on the docket that frankly was another exhibition game here with the Clippers taking on the Guangzhou Long Lions. And just to tell you the state of this game, ESPN, NBA.com, nobody had the box score ready for this game. It was broken. Like it was just literally, and it didn't get fixed until halftime. And even then it only barely populated, like no numbers, no stats, no nothing. So you can just make up a final score for this game for all we care, frankly. The Clippers played the Guangzhou Long Lions. Chris Paul made his Clippers debut, I guess re-debut if you're, a former Chris Paul fan and obviously a Clippers legend. So, that's exciting stuff there. And, this is a Clippers team that has a lot of high expectations for them this upcoming season. Yeah. Ultimately, we'll get a better idea of what this Clippers squad looks like when they play like some legitimate NBA competition in one of these upcoming preseason games.
Here's a question though. Does Victor Oladipo make an NBA roster this season?
Oh, that is a solid question.
20-something points so far. Clearly, I know he's their go-to player. But, it's the Lions here.
Look, I'll say if somebody were to take a flyer on him, like what does Oladipo want at this stage of his career? Right? Does he want to play overseas basketball and get paid handsomely to do it, or does he want to come take a vet minimum deal to be like the 8th or 9th best guy on maybe a contending team here in the NBA? A lot of teams have their rosters kind of already fleshed out. You still have Russell Westbrook still a free agent, right? Like he's still floating around and nobody's taking a stab at him. I feel like it'd be a bit of a reach to go Victor Oladipo over Russ. I know Russ is very polarizing, but Russ was at least part of a winning team in a winning context just this past season with the Denver Nuggets. So in the right role, I feel like a team would be better served to go after Russ than they would Victor Oladipo at this stage. I don't think we're getting an Oladipo comeback, David.
I don't know. I tend to think of it the other way. I think the problem with Westbrook is the reputation, however deserved it might be or not, that he just he plays Westbrook style basketball, and although he made changes in the system to kind of fit into Denver very effectively, I still think there are concerns league wide about whether or not you want to bring in the kind of headache and added just excessive drama that comes with adding a Russell Westbrook, whereas a Victor Oladipo, he's more of a comeback story, a guy who faced a number of injuries and just never was quite the all-star level player. But you never have to question if he's going to bring any kind of outside noise or factor in any kind of negativity to something he might be able to provide. So I can't see why a contender would say, you know what, we want to continue to shore up our team with an extra spark off the bench, a guy that's a proven all-star, and he's finally healthy and being able to showcase what he's still capable of doing. Let's just offer him a prove-it deal and see if he can actually provide something to our roster.
Maybe we do get the Victor. You know what? You talked me into it, David. Maybe we will get the Victor Oladipo redemption arc here, and he'll join a team before the start of the official start of the season. Coming up, we're going to get to LeBron James's injury and the impact to the start of the Lakers season, plus the annual NBA GM survey, the most surprising picks there. We'll get there in just one moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you do not want to miss out on. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, $5 only, and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. You pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. FanDuel's great because it gives you so many different ways to play. You can build out different parlays. You can try different player props. You can even follow the live betting lines during games. Or if you just want to keep things simple, just go take a look at the outright betting favorites for the Super Bowl this season. Right now, the Bills sitting at plus 500, the Lions plus 750, the Packers plus 800, the Eagles at plus 1,000, and then the Kansas City Chiefs bringing up the rear at plus 1,100. So for all those odds and so much more, visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Today's episode is also brought to you by Quo, formerly OpenPhone. One of the tools that help make a huge difference for business owners is Quo, formerly OpenPhone. It's the same great business phone system you've heard us talk about before, just with a new name. And here's why it matters. Every missed call is money left on the table. When every customer conversation counts, you need a phone system that keeps you connected 24/7. Quo is the #1 business phone system that streamlines customer communications. It works right through an app on your phone or your computer, so no more carrying two phones or relying on a landline. Quo is great because it lets your team share one number and collaborate on calls and texts seamlessly. They have a shared inbox feature that is a total game changer. Time to see why over 90,000 businesses trust Quo, formerly OpenPhone. Get started for free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/lockedonnba. That's QUO.com/lockedonnba. And if you got existing numbers with another service, Quo will port them over at no extra charge. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. And final segment here at Locked On NBA Game Night. All right, David, some very disappointing news for Lakers fans that the LeBron James glute injury seems to have gotten worse. Let's throw it out to Locked On Lakers for more on LeBron's injury status.
Thursday, Shams Charania from ESPN broke the news that LeBron James is expected to miss at least 3 to 4 weeks dealing with sciatica that is undoubtedly related to the glute nerve irritation that has plagued LeBron since training camp opened for the Lakers. He has yet to play in a preseason game or practice in full with the team. If he missed 3 to 4 weeks, that would mean 9 games. It is likely going to be, I would expect, anywhere from 10 to 20, given the injury itself, the ailment, and LeBron closing in on 41 years old, season 23, excess of caution, yada, yada, yada. Obviously problematic for the Lakers under any circumstances, but when you take into account that Luka Doncic has been decreasingly participating in practices, full practice over the course of training camp of late, and has also yet to play in a preseason game, at the very least, the Lakers seem quite far behind the 8 ball in terms of what they wanted to accomplish in training camp. For more Lakers coverage, make sure you're watching Locked On Lakers on YouTube and listening wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, David. So LeBron James's pain in the ass has now become a pain in the ass for the Lakers because he's about to miss time, about 3 to 4 weeks to start the season. Luka's men's health body is slowing down on him already, or that he's not participating. How doomed are the Lakers if they're without LeBron for a month to start the season, and if Luka's not 100% ready to go?
Okay, the first part of it, I'm not as concerned about it. And I know that might be surprising given how productive LeBron still is, even in age 20, at his 23rd season at age 41. But I think it allows, I'm looking at it from a glass half full. It's like, yes, you're going to be missing the best player of all time for a few weeks. I get that. And at the same time, the fact that you're going to be relying on somebody else and kind of already speeding up the shift to a Luka-dominated team, I think is going to help that group, because as you kind of make the playoff push, you're going to need to rely on everybody else to step up and find their role a little bit more comfortably. And a team led by LeBron or with LeBron on the floor is much more apt to kind of follow his lead versus a team that kind of has already had a chance to figure it out. So to me, this is going to be a positive thing in terms of building confidence in some of these players. A guy specifically that you and I talked about as a swing factor for this group, DeAndre Ayton. He can have the opportunity to speed up. He can establish that kind of rapport with Doncic and be able to find his footing early on so that he can step up when it matters most down the stretch when they're kind of making a playoff push. However, the huge caveat here is if Luka's not available, because then you're screwed. Because then what do you have on this roster? Who is going to lead the team without two incredible players?
This is Austin Reeves erasure, David. How dare you? No, look, yeah. If Luka's not ready to go, then the Lakers are kind of screwed top to bottom. The roster doesn't work. Now, you're not going to bet against Luka. If Luka's there opening night, Luka, one of the ultimate floor raisers in the NBA. Luka, and like you could roll out Luka, Austin Reeves, and like the 3 starter Pokemon like Charmander, Bulbasaur, and Squirtle, and you would still be able to win probably 45 games at the NBA level. That's how good of a floor raiser Luka is. And so, yeah, I get your point about, more opportunity for other guys to maybe have some offensive reps, some opportunities to take advantage of without LeBron in the lineup. Yes. And it's not like he's gone for, the entire season or anything. He just, at least hopefully he'll be back in about a month or so if it's not a more severe situation than that. But we want your thoughts on the start of the Lakers season. How much does the LeBron injury actually hurt LA and, getting out to what they would hope would be a good start and what is going to be a totally bloodthirsty, brutal Western Conference as far as the standings are concerned at the end of the season. But go ahead and let's go ahead and get to our last thing that we got here, David, the annual GM survey, where every year the NBA front office executives are polled on different questions about players and dynamics in the NBA at large. And it's always a fun, kind of look behind the curtain at what, the current decision makers and the current, executives think of the NBA landscape and which players they're kind of viewing favorably, which ones they're not viewing favorably. I've got a couple questions pulled here that stood out to me as kind of surprising logs in this poll, David, and I'll go with my first one here. And this one is maybe more semantics than anything, but the question was, who's the best shooting guard in the NBA? And overwhelmingly, 70% of executives picked Anthony Edwards. And I think that's undisputed fact. Ant is the best 2 guard in the NBA right now. Shouldn't even be up for debate. But where things get a little fishy is like Donovan Mitchell comes in at number 2, Luka and Shea tied at number 3, and then Steph Curry came in with 3% of the vote. So one GM voted for Steph Curry as the best 2 guard in the NBA. This is problematic on a number of levels because like 3/5 of these guys are not 2 guards.
You wonder what GMs were polled in this, who actually completed the ballot, or do they just not care about positions the same way everybody else does? Like, I understand it takes a very unique perspective to be a front office personnel person, and yet I just don't get that rationale. It's like, what are you looking at that the rest of us aren't, and how do you kind of use all this kind of different criteria to judge what a shooting guard is? So, yeah, the whole list seems a little wonky to me, and I like the fact that they were at least able to say Anthony Edwards, but why isn't he a point guard per se? I don't get it. Like if this is the criteria, it doesn't mean anything anymore. Let's just change the whole balloting altogether. Why can't we put Anthony Edwards as the best center in the league? You know,
it should be split based on like number, like however many possessions you play on ball versus off ball. I don't know. They got to figure out with a different category to be able to, you know, better I guess organize these guys and how you would vote on them. Because to me, Luka, SGA, and Steph, they're all point guards. They are. Yes. Now here's the thing: is my scorching hot take here is that Devin Booker is actually the second best 2 guard in the NBA. I don't think it's Donovan Mitchell. Sorry, Cavs fans. And shout out to our Locked on Suns host, Benjamin Garcia. I'm with you, Ben, on this one take. All your other Suns takes are bad, but this one take, I agree with you. Devin Booker over Donovan Mitchell all day. Here's one that is interesting, not because of the one that it came away with as the result, which was if you were starting a franchise today and could sign any player in the NBA, who would it be? 83% of executives picked Victor Wembanyama. That's overwhelming majority here. Then 13% chose SGA, 3% Nikola Jokic. So that's one vote for Jokic. What's really surprising here is the fall off of Luka Doncic. Luka's still young. Like Luka should still be one of the guys you pick to start a franchise with. And yet in the span of just a couple of years, he went from being like one of the consensus vote getters on this poll in particular, from like being the guy that people would pick to start a franchise with, to suddenly not even on anybody's radar as far as this question is concerned.
Is it like standing together with your fellow GM and Nico Harrison? Like, is that what it is? It's like, are they kind of defending him? It's like, you know what? He was actually right to trade Luka. He's not actually that good a player. We're going to stand with Nico. Is there like a movement taking place among front offices that I'm not aware of? Because it seems ridiculous to kind of discount him as much as you have, given that, again, he is a singular force in the NBA, one of the best players in the league, a top engine in the league, and a player who you can build a team around. As to your point, they were just in the finals 2 seasons ago. Like this hasn't been a significant drop off. And I know there are concerns, and yet he seemed to have addressed those over the summer. So what's the gripe here? Like, what's the argument for not having him as one of the top players in the league and somebody that you can build around? He's certainly not old enough.
I got one more here of which team will be most improved in 2025, 2026. The Orlando Magic came away as the number 1 team in this one, 47%. I think the Magic will be improved, but I was shocked that they actually won like resoundingly at the top of this poll. Tied for second place, the Hawks and the Spurs both getting 20% of the votes. Fourth place, the 76ers with 10% of the votes. And then the New Orleans Pelicans with one singular vote coming away with 3% of the overall vote.
I like the Magic. They were a good team last year. I think they're going to be better. To your point, I agree with you 100%. And it's like, yet Desmond Bane would have to shoot 90% from 3-point range in order to make up the difference from the rest of that team. Like, they're not going to suddenly be a good perimeter team just because they added Desmond Bane, which again was voted as the top most underrated acquisition over the summer. It's like he's all of a sudden going to shift this team dramatically, so they're going to be this high-powered offense. No, they're still going to win 95 to 93 games because of their defense, not because Desmond Bane's going to provide this incredible spark. Like, he's one player and he's just fine. It's not going to be. He's not that kind of guy. He's not that guy. So you know what? I don't know what these GMs are looking for, and I don't really care. But you know what? I'm surprised at Nikola Jokic getting voted as a sure MVP. Despite the fact Shai Gilgeous-Alexander still exists. Like, didn't this guy just win MVP last year and you're not even like considering him? I think who was the second best? Who did they vote as the second top player to win MVP? It was
also receiving votes. Yeah.
Yeah. It was Jokic as the top one with 67%, and then Luka with 10%. And Shai, the guy who just won it, it's like, he might still be in the conversation. Let's give him 8%. So 2 guys voted for him. Like, I mean, this is a little ridiculous. The GM survey gives us, as media members, fodder to talk about, and yet every year I just wind up scratching my head and wondering, what the hell are you people even looking at? What is your criteria for these decisions?
Is this where hang on? Don't get off your soapbox yet, David, because you still have to talk about Bam Adebayo not receiving respect as a versatile NBA.
He's been robbed twice by the Boston media mafia. Like, I don't even, if Marcus Smart might took us, he should never have won DPOY.
I have a take about Victor Wembanyama, and Spurs fans aren't going to like it. He's receiving a lot of love as like this like godly level defensive player, yet it hasn't translated. Like, yes, he's scary. Yes, opposing players are afraid to drive on him, but the Spurs haven't been a good defense with Wemby yet. Like, talk to me when the Spurs have a top 10 or a top 5 defense, and then we can start lording Wemby around as like a perennial DPOY caliber player, or even better, finish a whole season, and then we can have that conversation. So at least that's kind of where I stand with Wemby right now. I need to see more. Like, if you're going to be in the same kind, look, Rudy Gobert's a walking top 10 defense. Like, if you're going to be in this conversation of this, like, the greatest defensive player in the NBA, the bar is Rudy Gobert, and he's not that yet. He's not that transformative of a defender yet. He can be. I think he will be, but I think we're just a little bit ahead of ourselves on the Wemby thing. Putting
I love the Texas on Texas hate here. This is clearly what it is, right?
You know what's funny is, like, I actually don't mind San Antonio, but Dallas, screw Dallas all day. Like, nobody likes Dallas. People in Dallas don't even like Dallas. Okay, that's the reality of the situation. All right, any other ones that stand out to you, David? Here, the coaching one actually, and we've got a two-parter on this one. Eric Spoelstra coming in as the best head coach in the NBA with over half the votes, 52%. He also clocked in as the best manager / motivator of people with 28% of the vote, leading both of those categories. And it would make sense that the man who walks away with winning both of these polls would be anointed the new head coach of Team USA basketball, expected to name Eric Spoelstra as the new head coach of the men's national team. So he'll be coaching them in the World Cup and the 2028 Summer Olympics. How do you feel about that honor for Spo, David? You're head coach of the Miami Heat.
Well deserved. I thought it was a natural progression for him, and I agree 100% because I think that's really where his best skill is, being able to manage all these personalities. We've seen before, nobody else really able to maximize a team with LeBron James the way Spo has, and at the same time, like, just getting all these different players to buy in, regardless. I mean, Jimmy Butler has been problematic and will continue to be so, and yet for 5.5 seasons, he was a model citizen in Miami, and a lot of that was because of the relationship he had with Eric Spoelstra, who's coached so many different players, so many different personalities, and is so entrenched in how that team is defined. So the fact that he's able to guide and lead some of the top players in the league in Olympic play makes a lot of sense, and yet somehow, ironically, Heat fans think he's overrated. So I don't even know what to make of that. So in that case, I think the GM's actually got it right. But you know what? I criticize them all show long. So why end now? You know.
Every fan base thinks their coach is overrated. That is the one unifying force amongst all sports fans everywhere. Everybody hates their own head coach. All right, with that, we want your thoughts about everything we discussed in the YouTube comments. But as always, thanks so much for hanging out with us here at Locked on NBA Game Night. Stay tuned for our daily Locked on NBA show on the same channel. But until then, we'll catch you guys on our next game night.